Hello and welcome back. We looked at the income tax previously, and we looked at the sources of income on which we have to pay tax and other sources of income on which we don't have to pay tax. We also looked at some other bits and pieces as far as the income tax is concerned. We'll continue our journey with income tax today as we see the other bits and pieces. Now, I told you the personal pension contribution thing, what is personal pension contribution and what are the benefits of it. I also told you something called gift aid donations, where you give the gift to the charity and HMRC gives you some benefits. Now, when HMRC gives you benefit, what sort of benefit is it? Now, gift aid donation is calculated exactly the same way like personal pension contribution, and it has got exactly the same benefits just like the personal pension contribution. What was the benefit of the personal pension contribution? Among others, one of the benefits of personal pension contribution was that the gross amount you pay to HMRC, gross amount what you pay to personal pension contribution will be added to your basic rate band and the higher rate band. So your basic rate band and the higher rate band will be extended by the gross amount of what you pay for personal pension contribution. Now, this is the same benefit which applies to gift aid donations as well. So whatever you pay to charity, you'll have to take gross amount of that. You only pay 80%, 20% will be paid by HMRC. So the gross amount, 100% of that, will be added to your basic rate band and the higher rate band. So in the question, if both of them are given, just add both of them. If any one of them given, then you will have to only add one of them, right? So that was only a bit of what was left from the previous lessons. I'll share the screen with you as we move to our next topic area. Who shall pay UK tax? I've shared the screen with you. On page 6 it says residence. What does you know about residence apart from taxation? What you think of when the word residence comes in your mind? Residence simply means residing somewhere. So for example, I am resident at my house, I am living here, that's why I call myself I am resident here. So residence simply means living somewhere. If I am living in UK, I am UK resident. If I am living in Dubai, I am resident in Dubai. So likewise, someone who is living in the UK will be considered as UK resident, isn't it? So HMRC has some criteria to qualify as someone to be considered as UK resident. So for example, someone spending specific days in the UK will be considered UK resident. But how many days? HMRC will tell us. And then HMRC will say someone who is resident in the UK will have to pay UK tax. What do you think? If I am living in Dubai, will I have to pay UK tax? I may not. But what if I am living in the UK, then definitely I will have to pay UK tax because I am living in the UK. So that's, although now we know that if I am living in the UK, I will have to pay UK tax. But when will I be considered as UK resident? If I come in the UK for a visit for say a couple of days, will I be considered as UK resident? Will I have to pay tax? No. Or maybe yes, I don't know. We'll have to see the guidelines provided by HMRC. So HMRC says that someone spending some time in the UK will be considered as UK resident, and someone spending less than that time will be considered non-UK resident. Alright? So we'll have to see now that who is considered UK resident according to HMRC guidelines. Now it says resident on page 6. I've shared the screen with you. A person is liable to UK tax if he is resident in the UK for a given tax year. So a person is liable to UK tax, will have to pay UK tax if he is resident in the UK for a given tax year. To define whether a person is resident in a particular tax year or not, following rules will apply. So we'll have to see the guidelines if someone is resident in the UK or not resident in the UK. Now, first few guidelines which I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to read from the notes, are the guidelines to consider these people non-UK resident. So if any of these conditions apply, then the person will be non-UK resident. We don't have to look they will be automatically non-UK resident. We don't have to get into more details. So what are those conditions? Automatic non-residence test. So these people, if any of these conditions failed, it will be considered as non-UK resident. The following people will automatically be treated as non-resident of UK. Who people? A person who is in the UK for less than 16 days during the tax year. So say for example, if you come for a couple of weeks in the UK and you stayed for a couple of weeks and then you return to your home country, then you will be considered non-UK resident automatically. We don't need to see your further details. Second of the condition is if a person who is in the UK for less than 46 days during the tax year and who has not been a resident during the 3 previous tax years. Alright? So another condition is that someone who spent less than 46 days and was not UK resident in either of the previous 3 tax years will also be considered non-UK resident. Alright? So you spend 45 days in this tax year in the UK, 1.5 months you spend, then you was not resident in either of the previous 3 tax years. You were not resident in the UK. Then you will still be considered automatically non-UK resident. You don't have to go in more details for that. Alright? The third condition says a person who works full-time overseas subject to them not being in the UK for more than 90 days during tax year. So if you work in Dubai, say for example, and you spend less than 90 days in the UK, then you will be considered non-UK resident. Although you might be UK national, but you are working in Dubai for full-time and you are coming to UK for less than 90 days or 90 days, then you will be considered non-UK resident. Automatically, we don't need to get into more details. Alright, now next heading is for those who will be considered automatically UK resident. Now who are those people? Subject to not meeting any of the automatic non-residence test, the following people will automatically be treated a UK resident. Now these are the conditions. Now, if any of these conditions fulfilled, this person will be considered automatically UK resident and will have to pay tax. If any of the conditions does not apply, then he will not be UK resident, or we might have to see more details. Alright, now a person who is in the UK for 182 days or more during a tax year. Now if a person is in the UK for 182 days, now there is a mistake here in the notes. It says 182 days. Please rectify the mistake. It is 183 days. A person who is in the UK for 183 days or more will be considered automatically UK resident. Right? Please make sure you rectify the mistake. It is big mistake. If you write down 182 days in the exam, you ain't gonna get any mark. Next says a person whose only home is in the UK. So for example, if a person's only home is in the UK, then he will also be considered automatically a UK resident. Third condition says a person who carries out full-time work in the UK. Say for example, if you're working in the UK and you're working full-time in the UK, then you will also be considered as automatically UK resident. Right? As far as you are working full-time. Now say for example, come to the first note, a person who is in the UK for 183 days. Say for example, if I am in the UK for 150 days, will I be automatically UK resident? No, because it says 183 days or more. Now see the previous test which says automatic non-residence. If I am 150 days in the UK, will I be considered automatically non-resident? Check in the notes please. Check the previous heading. No, I won't be non-UK resident. So I am not automatically non-UK resident and I am not automatically UK resident. What if I am in between that? What if I am resident in the UK for 150 days? What if I am in the UK for 100 days? Because there isn't any conditions here. So what shall I do then? Now come to the third note please. Third note, it says UK ties test. Alright? Now if any of the people who is either if any person who is not automatically UK resident and not automatically non-UK resident, so he does not fulfill any of those conditions, then these rules will apply. We'll have to see these rules. Remember I told you we need to go into more details, or we do not need to go into more details. That's where these rules come. Now we need to go into more details if someone who is resident in the UK for 150 days, for instance. Alright, so UK ties test applied only if automatic tests could not define the residence. So if automatic tests does not define if someone is resident or not resident, then we'll have to see these ties, right? Now there are 5 ties here. We will read all of these 5 ties, and you will have to remind yourself, you will have to remember these 5 ties, because these are not given to you in the exam. So you will have to remember what are 5 ties of the UK residents. So you will have to remember these 5 ties. Where a person's residence status cannot be determined according to any of the automatic tests, then her status will be based on how many ties they have within the UK and how many days they stay in the UK during a tax year. Now these UK ties are as follows. It says they are active UK ties. Now there's a mistake here. These are UK ties as follows. You can write it down as these are UK ties as follows. Now having a close family member, please write down member as well. Having a close family member. Say for example, if you have a kid, if you have a wife, then this is a tie. This is one tie, alright? So these are total 5 ties. First one tie is if you have a family member in the UK, it is one tie. Second tie is having a house in the UK which is made use of during the tax year. So if you have a house in the UK and you use it when you go to UK, then this is also a UK tie. Right? So if I have a close family member and I have a house too, I will have 2 ties. I could have 1 tie, I could have 0 ties, or I could have 5 ties as well. Right? So maximum ties are 5. What is the third tie? It says doing. Doing what? Please write down. It is a mistake of my typewriter. Doing substantial work in the UK. Doing substantial work in the UK. Now what is substantial? It is not our subject area as far as F6 is concerned. Examiner will not ask you what is substantial work. He will either tell you, he will definitely going to tell you that what the substantial work is. He will tell you that he is substantially working in the UK, is doing substantial work in the UK. Right? So doing substantial work in the UK is also a tie. Fourth tie is being in the UK for more than 90 days during either of the previous 2 tax years. So you were resident in the previous 2 years, you were resident 90 days or more in the UK. So being in the UK for more than 90 days during either of 2 previous tax years, either of previous 2. So you could have 1 previous year, or not the previous years, but the year before previous year. Right? So either of previous 2 years. Then the last tie is spending more time in the UK than any other country in the world. So spending more time in the UK than any other country in the tax year. So if you have been in the UK for more time than in any other country, then it is also a tie. A day in the UK. Now a day, because these are saying spending this many days, spending that many days. What is a day in the UK? Now being at 12 midnight in the UK is called a day. So so a day in the UK is any day in which a person is present in the UK at midnight. It's a bit strange rules, because if I go to the UK and I spend only, if I go to the UK and my flight arrives there at, say for example 1 a.m. In the midnight, so if I arrive there at 1 o'clock a.m. and I had a just business trip, and I spend a couple of hours doing meetings and a little bit of shopping in the evening, then I returned in the same day 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the evening, then I won't be present in the UK as far as UK taxation is concerned. So they will say, you know, no one came into the UK if I go to UK according to this timing. So someone who is present in the midnight will be considered a UK resident. Say for example, if I arrived at 1 o'clock in the night and I stayed that day and my flight was 12:30 a.m., then definitely I'm a resident in the UK for 1 single day. If I am resident, if my flight is at 11:30, 11:45, then I won't be present in the UK even though I have spent almost 23.5 hours in the UK. As far as UK tax is concerned, I won't be I won't be present in the UK, and that's what HMRC says. All right. So these are UK ties. Now, how do we determine how many ties do we require in order to be considered as UK resident? Now, there is a following table at end of this page. It says, before the table, it says that a person's resident status is found by comparing the number of days they are in the UK during a tax year against how many ties they have, according to following table. Now, the following table will be given to you in the exam. Please look at this table. This table will be given to you in the exam. Now, days in the UK. If a person is less than 16 days present in the UK, either he is previously resident or not resident, doesn't matter. He will be considered automatically non-resident, as we saw in the automatic non-resident test, which was our first test. Our first test was automatically non-resident. If someone who is spending less than 16 days in a tax year, it will be considered automatically non-resident. So does it say here as well. Now, leave the other ones, just come to the last one, please. It says 183 days or more at the end of the table. Now, if you spend 183 days or more, regardless of either you were present in the UK, resident in the UK, or you were not resident in the previous years, doesn't matter. You will be considered automatically UK resident. So does it say here, 183 days or more, automatically resident in the UK, automatically resident in the UK. Either you are not previously resident or previously resident, doesn't matter. All right. Now, please come to the second one. It says if you have spent 16 to 45 days, how many ties do you need if you were resident previously, or how many ties you need if you were previously non-resident. So please make sure you read all of these. In some cases you need more ties, some cases you need less ties, but you don't need to you don't need to remember these, memorize these table, because it will be given to you in the exam anyway. However, what you need to memorize is them ties. That family is a tie, spending more time in the UK than in any other country is a tie, doing substantial work in the UK is a tie, having a home in the UK which you use is a tie. Likewise, you need to memorize them tables. All right. So this residence, we now know who shall pay UK tax according to the residence. All right, we now know it. Now, before we wind up the lecture, please come to next page where it says chapter 3 and 4. I've shared the screen with you as well anyway. It says employment income. Now, employment income is an income which you earn from your employment. If you're working for a company and you are earning some money, that is called employment income. I am working for AccountancyTube. They pay me a salary. That is called employment income. They might pay me some other benefits as well apart from salary. They might give me some benefits. They might give me some bonus as well. So there's all of them. When I total all of them, it is called employment income. So let's check the notes then. It says salary. First of all, salary. Now, salary is a very common word. You know what salary is. Then it says bonus. Now, bonus is the amount which is not, it is not every month. You don't receive it every month. You might receive one performing well, or you might receive one company performing well. So that is called bonus. Then it says benefits. Now, benefits could be many. We'll see in detail what sort of benefits a company can give and how to calculate the taxable benefits on that. But benefits could be, it is very, very huge term, and there is lots of stuff in benefits. After that, it says plus amount paid by employee. Please make sure you rectify it. It is not plus, it is negative sign. Please write it down as minus. Minus amount paid by employee for benefits, and then again minus allowable deduction. So there are two minuses instead of pluses where you need to make sure you rectify it. So salary plus bonus plus benefits less amount paid by employee for benefits less allowable deductions. Now, amount paid by employee for benefits. Say for example, employer has provided me a car, but I have paid something to buy the car. Say for example, I liked a BMW new series, and I went to my boss and I said, boss, I like that car. Then my boss said, oh my God, I was giving to you a car as well at end of the year. I was planning to give you a car. Then what you can do is, I was giving to you a car which was costing me £5,000. How much is that car? I said, that is £15,000. Then he said, all right, I'll give you £5,000. Rest of amount you contribute and you can have that car. That was fabulous. Then I had that car. So that's how it works. If I like something and my employer was going to give me that amount, so whatever I contribute, I will have to deduct out of that benefits. So my benefit in that case, whatever I gave you the example, cost of my benefit was £15,000. However, I will reduce it by whatever I paid for that, which was 7,000 or 10,000, whatever I said to you. All right. So whatever I paid towards my benefits will be deducted. Then it says allowable deductions. There could be many deductions out of my salary. Say for example, pay, or there could be other deductions as well. So we'll see later what sort of deductions can I deduct out of my employment income in order to reach final figure which we put in our income tax pro forma, where the employment income will go into the non-savings income. All right. So then it says allowable deduction. After that it says bonus. Now bonus will be taxed in the year in which you receive it. It says here the amount of bonus is taxed in the tax year in which employee becomes entitled or paid for it. Right. Entitled or paid for bonus. All right. So regardless of receiving, so you will only be taxed when the employee becomes entitled of this. Then it says benefits. Now the list of benefits goes and goes. First benefit is called vouchers. You'll have to read it yourself. Vouchers could be anything. It could be Tesco voucher. It could be fuel voucher. It could be a voucher of any supermarket where you can go and buy some stuff. It could be credit cards or anything else. So you'll have to read yourself that vouchers given by employer are called benefit. Right? All kinds of vouchers, blah blah blah, provided to employee are taxable on the cost to the employer. So whatever does it cost to employer will be considered your benefit and it will be added into your salary. Right? Then it says accommodation. Now accommodation provided by the employer could be in three ways. Right? There could be three sort of accommodations. One accommodation is called which is provided to you, but it is provided to you because it was required by your profession. Say for example, a person who is working in an office and is working very late nights. All right. Then the boss said that because the kind of work which you are doing is of a sort where you are required to live in that house, all right, or in that office. So if you are required to live in that specific house, then you will be considered. Then the boss will give you the employment, and the boss will give you the accommodation, but it will be an exempt accommodation. You will not be considered to pay tax on that, regardless of the fact whatever the rent is. You will still be getting the accommodation free of cost. All right. Likewise, if you are taking care of a property, if you are a security guard, and then you are required to spend the night there because it is required by your profession, you will have to stay at the building where you are a guard, because if you don't spend time there, it is useless. So part of your job is to look after the building where you are standing at night. So in that case, employee will give you accommodation there as well. So the accommodation which is given to you in that case will be exempt benefit. Now, please check case 3, please, of accommodation. Just leave first 2 cases for now. Come to case 3, where it says accommodation provided is job-related accommodation where employee is required to live. Then it is exempt accommodation, just the way I told you. Then come to the case 1, please. A cost of accommodation provided to employee is 75,000 or less. When the cost of accommodation is 75,000 pounds or less than that, then what would be the benefit? Benefit would be higher of annual value. It will be given to you in the exam, annual or rateable value. Then higher of annual value or rent paid by the employer. If employer is paying any rent, that and the annual value, higher of that. In the case where the value of the property, value of the accommodation is less than 75,000 pounds. If, for example, value of the property, value of the accommodation is more than 75,000 pounds, what then? If the value is more than 70,000 pounds, 75,000 pounds, then the case 2 will apply. Taxable amount will be calculated as follows. So you will take annual value and you will add something into it. What will you add? You will add cost of accommodation or market value less 75,000 pounds into official rate of interest. Official rate of interest as far as taxation is concerned is 3%. So wherever in the taxation, whether it is F6 or P6, wherever this word come, please make sure official rate of interest is 3%. Right? So what you will have to do is, if the accommodation is more than 75,000 pounds, then you will have to take the cost of the value of the annual value of the accommodation. Then you will add something into it. What will you add? You will have to take this formula. A cost of accommodation or market value, you will have to deduct 75,000 threshold out of it, and you'll have to multiply it by 3%, which is official rate of interest. Alright, so that is it. Then it says number 3, expenses connected with living accommodation. So if you are living in accommodation, there could be many expenses: heating, lighting, gardening, bill, repairing, decoration, and there could be many expenses if you're living in a property. Alright, so all the expenses will be taxable on the cost to the employer. So all amount paid by employer is taxable. So whatever employer is paying towards your accommodation will be taxable benefit. Then it says expenses reimbursed by employer when employees away from home. Say for example, if you're going an audit from UK to Dubai, then the employer will give you some money. So how much it is exempt and how much is it taxable? £5 per day is exempt in the UK, £5 per day in the UK, and if it exceeds whole amount is taxable. So if you are in the UK, say for example you are going from London to Manchester on audit or for any tax purposes of your accountancy practice, then employer will pay you. If employer is paying you £5 per day, then that will be exempt. If it is paying more than that, the whole amount will be taxable. Now in the case 2, if you are going abroad, if you are going from UK to Dubai or France for audit or any other business purposes, if the employer is giving you £10 per day, it will be exempt. If it exceeds that amount, the whole amount will be taxable. Alright? The next topic is, next benefit is, scholarships. The scholarships to employee or family member of employee are taxable. If your employer is giving any scholarship to your kids or wife or yourself, then will be taxable. Right? After that it says removable expense. Please make sure you write it down. It is important. It is very, very important. Could examine it. Now removal or relocation expenses are when you are moving from one house to another house, then something you might incur some expenses, because the person who will come and pick your luggage, all the stuff in your house and move to some other house, he's going to charge you something. Alright? So up to £8,000 is exempt. Excess is taxable. So if you are required to leave from here to any other house, your employer is giving you some amount. Alright? So if your employer is giving you £10,000 for relocation, then £8,000 will be exempt, and the rest of 2,000 will be taxable. That's what it says. Up to 8,000 is exempt and excess is taxable. Then it says medical insurance premiums. Now medical insurance premiums are, you know what it is. It is just taking care of yourself. So if employee is outside the UK for performance of the duties, then it is exempt. If employee is in the UK, then the entire amount will be taxable on cost to the employer. Alright? So these were some of the benefits. We just read 7 benefits, and there are quite many others as well. Excuse me. We will see benefits of cars tomorrow, and we will see that how to calculate the benefits on the car. If the employer has provided you the car, you might have contributed something into it. It might be contributed some fuel as well towards your car. So we will see in details benefits on the cars and some other benefits as well. Alright, that's it for today, and I wish you good luck, and I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you and goodbye.